Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun to lean on, talking Hilchos Krias Shema, Siman Samach, number 66. I want to talk about the end of this Siman where it talks about being Somech Gula Tefillah. Besides the purpose of Birchos Krias Shema being themselves a mitzvah, right? It's supposed to accompany Krias Shema. The last bracha of Krias Shema, Emes V'Yatzav, and also Gal Yisrael and Ma'ariv is to be Somech Gula Tefillah as a mitzvah. The Gemara talks about length. But be Somech Gula Tefillah, someone who, one of the Rebbeim, the big Gedolim in that time, if he was Somech Gula Tefillah, he would smile the whole day, be very happy the whole day. They'd be able to Somech Gula Tefillah. Most people in this era are Somech Gula Tefillah, so that's why people are so depressed now. People should be happy all day. You're Somech Gula Tefillah, and it's just become the norm that everyone's Somech Gula Tefillah. It was harder back then. I don't know why it was harder. Maybe they had to run out to go to their fields to harvest their crops. I don't know. It used to be harder then. Maybe he was very happy Somech Gula Tefillah. Now we take it for granted. Of course, you say Gal Yisrael and you say Shema Esrei. It's interesting. There is a minhag over here to wait for 10 people. They should start Shema Esrei together. Only here I found this. Usually in other shuls, I haven't seen this with modern Orthodox shuls. They wait to make sure they have 10 people that are up to the same point, so they can start Shema Esrei with a minyan. Now, technically, I think you could be able to say tefillah with tzibur even if any point during Shema Esrei 10 people are davening, so you don't have to wait for 10 people to start. This is not considered a hefsek within Gula Tefillah because you're not finishing the bracha. It's only after you finish the bracha, Gal Yisrael, and then you stop. Even if you don't say anything, it's supposed to be Somech Gula Tefillah. Somech means takef, right after you finish Gal Yisrael, you should start tefillah. Now, this is very different than the regular purposes of Birchos Krias Shema. I said the main part of Birchos Krias Shema is, I believe, is the bracha of Avarabba, which is a Birchos HaMitzvah, for Krias Shema, which is the mitzvah of Torah Shebechtav that you're supposed to learn during the day. Now, in Halacha Tet over here, it says, Halacha Yud over here, that if you didn't say, if you didn't say Birchos Krias Shema, or the bracha after Krias Shema, you're not Yotzei the mitzvah of Krias Shema Ketikuna. It's not clear what he's talking about. And then the Ramah says, if you only have time to say Krias Shema, and then come back and say Birchos Krias Shema, and then daven. So, it seems to be that Birchos Krias Shema, like I mentioned, I think there's really two facets to Birchos Krias Shema. One is the mitzvah of Birchos HaTorah, which it was only one bracha. The rest of Birchos Krias Shema, and that I mentioned, that if you missed, that the halacha is, you're supposed to, if you missed, if you said you're saying Krias Shema even after the Zman, you're supposed to say, or you already said Krias Shema, you're Yotzei around, you should say Birchos Krias Shema again, and the halacha was supposed to say Krias Shema in the middle. I said I don't think that's true because if you're already Yotzei Krias Shema, the mitzvah Torah Shebechtav, you don't say a bracha on something they already Yotzei. It's a bracha on your bracha levatala. So I would think that you don't say, if you're going to say the brachas Krias Shema afterwards, you don't say Krias Shema again, but you would say it for tefillah. There's a second purpose of Birchos Krias Shema, especially the last bracha of Birchos Krias Shema, which is to be Somech Gula Tefillah, last bracha of Krias Shema, in the morning and night. You're supposed to be Somech Gula Tefillah. What is the idea of Somech Gula Tefillah? Right after you say Gal Yisrael Tefillah, because the idea of Birchos Krias Shema and Krias Shema, there's a secondary thing going on over here, and that is that you start Birchos Krias Shema, you start Yotzer Ma'or, you say Hashem has control over the whole world, and then you talk about the fact that Hashem gave us the Torah, Avos Olam, Avarabba, He gave us the Torah. Then you say Krias Shema. Now Krias Shema I mentioned can function as two things. It can function as the mitzvah of Torah Shebechtav, but also as Kabbalah's All Malchus Shemayim, the Gemara says, where we recognize that we're servants, we're slaves to God. We got the Torah, we got the Torah now, but we realize we're slaves to God, and the only way we're going to get out of being slaves is through the Torah. And then you say Gal Yisrael to realize that if you connect the Torah, you learn the Torah properly, and you take the Torah seriously, you will free yourself from the Avdos, and you will eventually reach Geula. And why is it so important to be Somech Gula Tefillah? Because I mentioned the purpose of Tefillah is to have kavanah, to direction in your life, as opposed to cheshbon nefesh, where you're thinking about things you did wrong. Tefillah is to gather your thoughts, to think about what kivan, what direction you're going in life, and what goals you have, what talents you have, where you want to go in life. It's supposed to be a positive experience. So you have to come off of Geula, where we realize that having Torah and keeping the Torah will free us from Avdos, it'll bring us to the Geula, and then once we have the Geula, right, then we can fully use our talents, and we can use tefillah, we mechaber ourselves in the right. We can only sur mirav asay tov. In order to get out of, you have to get out of jail, and then once you get out of jail, then you can do tov. You can use your talents, you can use your strengths in order to, proceed in life in the direction that's good for you, and that'll be enjoyable for you, and it'll bring you success in life. And that's why I have to be Somech Gula Tefillah. So Over here, when the Ramah says that you should, if you said Krias Shema already, you should say the brachos again. I do agree that you should say the brachos again. I mentioned you shouldn't say, if you don't say Krias Shema, you don't have to say Krias Shema again. That's what I think. And also, it would seem you don't have to say all the brachos Krias Shema. It would seem to be just the last bracha, Al Yisrael, which would be Samech Gvul Tefillah. That's what you should say again. And I don't know about and sorry, I'm going to take that back. You should say all the brachos because it's a sequence. Even though, and maybe I'm going to backtrack what I said. Maybe the halacha is like the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah said, that you should say Krias Shema again, even the Riyotze, because even though it's not the primary mitzvah, the primary idea of Krias Shema is the mitzvah of Torah Shebachtav. However, the Kabbalah's Al Malch Shemayim is still intact, and therefore you do the whole Seder to realize that you're in slavery, you're going to get out of slavery through the Torah, you're going to get out, and then you come and daven. So that whole Seder, that the secondary meaning, the B'diavad meaning of Krias Shema still applies. Therefore, it does make sense maybe to say Krias Shema again, even if you're Yosef the first time, and then to be Samech Gvul Tefillah. I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.